ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितमेष कालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ वर्स् 61 यद्भासा भास्यतेऽर्कादी भास्यैर्यत्तु न भास्यते येन सर्वमिदं भाति तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. So in these verses, Shankaracharya ji reinforces Vedantic teaching connecting to Upanishad mantra to show that what he is teaching basically is through the Veda Pramana. So all the shlokas now recently what we were seeing, they are all connected to some Upanishadic mantra. And this verse 61 also is connected to very well-known mantra which we chant during Karpur, Nirajanam, etc. Val na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. This mantra appears in Kathopanishad also, and it appears in Mundakopanishad also. And in this, this has been discussed in Yad Bhasa Bhasyate Arkadi, etc. So in this mantra, actually, basically in the mantra, in the Upanishad, Brahman is compared to the Jyoti, light, which is very popular in our culture. We always, start a day with a lighting a lamp. So, and that is how, especially women in the morning, they get up, need not even take bath, and they just wash their legs and hands, and the first thing they do is lighting a lamp in the kitchen. So that's how, as if the whole house has been converted into a temple. And of course in temple also we show varieties of the lights. That is also to indicate that that everything is, that Jyoti is Paramatma. Even in terms of Upachara also, there is a Ekadipa Arti, and then there is a Panchadipa Arti, and then there is a Karpur Arti. So they are all lamps constantly showing all these Jyotis to indicate that this Paramatma is a Jyoti. It is the light of the lights, it is the Jyoti. And in Vedanta, this Atma is compared to this light. It is taken in a very technical sense actually. And here we take a definition of a light is like this. What? That light is a one in whose presence things are recognized, things are illumined, things are known, and in whose absence things are not illumined, not known, not evident, etc., etc. Things are not recognized. That we consider as a light. And that definition definitely applies, this particular definition applies to external lights also. I mean the sun, moon, and then fire, and also the lightning. All these things are basically we call them light, because this definition can be applied to that also. In presence of sun, all the things are recognized or illumined. In presence of moon, in presence of fire, in presence of lightning, etc., also things are recognized. In absence of that, things are not recognized. So basically, so that is how, what definition we give in Vedanta for a light applies to external luminaries also. But Vedanta gives this definition for some other purpose. Vedanta goes further and says, don't just take all the lights which are there outside, don't take them just, they are only lights. Well, here also, in this body also there are lights. The sense organs are lights, right? Because of this, because eyes are lights, because of that forms are recognized. In absence of the eyes, forms are not recognized. In presence of eyes, forms are illumined, known, forms are evident, or colors are evident, whatever. Generally colors. We should talk about colors, frankly speaking. When you talk about eyes, what is the object of illumination for the eyes? Actually color, not form. But through color, form, ultimately. Anyway, so forms, colors are known, illumined. So, well, eyes are light. Ears are also light, because things are recognized. Sounds are recognized. Same way, touch, sense of touch also is a light. So all the sense organs are lights basically. And well, afterwards, and that is what even has been told in the Dakshinamurti mantra also, right? Nana chidra gatodara sthitamaha deepa prabha bhaswaram jnanam yasyatu chakshuradi karana dvara bahihi spandate janamiti, etc., etc. So, Nana Chidra Gatodara Sthita. So they illumine, I mean they have an imagery that like in a dark room, I mean imagine that there is a pot with 5 holes, and in that pot you have placed a very bright lamp. And well, of course, the pot is covered only, so therefore the light comes out from the apertures, 5 apertures, and illumines the objects, whatever comes in the path of that aperture, in the room, whatever the objects are there. So, well, all those objects which come in the path of this light, which is emerging from the 5 apertures, they are illumined. So, same way here also this body is a pot. And well, here also there are 5 apertures, right? 5 sense organs. And consciousness, the light, the lamp is burning inside. Just think that way. And therefore, and that light is emerging out from these 5 apertures and illumines the objects. Where? In the room. Which is the room? This whole world is a room. In the world, in this world, there are 5 types of objects. They are all illumined by these 5 beams of light emerging out from the sense organs. So consciousness actually illumines, but that's how they say. So, well, so eyes illumine, ears illumine respective objects. So this is how sense organs are light. Then, we say words are also light. This is a Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Swayam Jyotir Brahmanam. There all these things is discussed. Words are light. Because basically they give example also. That like some person who is a tenant has come to, he has taken on rent some place, and he has come very first day when he entered the room, and he has not even arranged everything properly, and well, there were furniture, everything was there, and he reached in the night with all this luggage and everything, and thought of arranging the things. Suddenly the lights were off, gone. Now even he doesn't know where to sit also, because total dark. But then owner of the house comes and tells, don't worry, where are you standing? He said, I'm standing in the middle of the room. Don't worry. Just move, go towards, few steps towards the right hand side, and there is a table there. And and on the side of the table, move then on the left side, but there is one chair. Sit on the chair. Then I have already called the people and they said the lights will come within 10 minutes, so nothing to worry. Please sit on the chair till the lights come, and like that. So the words of the landlord has really shown the way, right? It has illumined the path for coming out or for sitting, etc. So the words of a person also can illumine the thing, and therefore, so this is how that is also. And we say also, Swamiji, please throw some light upon this topic. Now I cannot throw a torch on the topic. So definitely words. So this is how words are also light. So this person has come to know the existence of a chair through what? Existence of the chair generally is known by this external light called tube light or something. But here, that light is not there. But still he came to know the existence of the chair through the words of the landlord. And therefore, that is words of the person also is a light. So Vak Jyoti. Then mind also is a Jyoti. In presence of mind you recognize, in absence of mind you don't recognize. So mind also is a light. We know, like you are seeing me right now and I am illumined because you have a thought also. If mind is somewhere else, well, I am not illumined. So mind also, the thought also is a light. Then ultimate light is what? Is consciousness. So this is how we say, consciousness. That is how Bhagavan said in chapter 13, Jyotisham api tad jyotihi, etc. Jyotisham jyotihi. For all the jyotis, outside all the physical luminaries or here in terms of sense organs or mind, etc. For all the jyotis, well, ultimate jyoti is a consciousness. So that's what it said in a shloka. Arkadi bhasyate, yad bhasa arkadi bhasyate. Because of which light this arkadi, arka means a sun, adi means etc. etc. means all that. Sun, then moon, and then fire, and our lightning, and sense organs, and mind, all are able to illumine the respective objects. Well, because ultimately, yad bhasa, because of whose light, because of the consciousness, they are able to illumine respective objects. And we have seen also, like a sun illumines entire world, but then sun is illumined by eyes. The person who is blind, for him there is no bright sun. For him there is a hot sun is there for him, but there is no bright sun. So sun is not illumined by the person who is blind. So basically sun is illumined by the eyes, and eyes are illumined by the mind. If you are seeing me, your eyes is falling on me, but still you are not able to see if mind is not behind the eyes. And therefore, as though the eyes are illumined by the mind, and mind is illumined by the Chidabhasa, we have seen that already. And so mind is illumined by the reflected consciousness. This reflected consciousness is nothing but, is a consciousness and this anatma, this deha, etc. or mind, let's say. Consciousness plus mind, when they unite, that generates the reflected light. That's all. What is reflected sun? Reflected sun is nothing but the original sun comes in contact with the reflecting medium called water or mirror. That's all it is. What is there? And therefore, it's basically Atma Anatma. That's how it is. Identification. So I am doing like this as if thinking that Atma and Anatma are two entities, separate entities, and they are uniting. Take it that way. Even Shankaracharya ji is going to remove that notion little later, after 2-3 verses, I think. He's going till then let's keep like that. Atma and Anatma, there as though there are two things, and they get identified, they have become one. And because of that, a reflected consciousness has arisen. Think that way. So anyway, so yad bhasa arkadi bhasyate, because of whose light these all luminaries also are able to illumine the things. And that's how, I am that light. Don't take it lightly. I am that light which you should not take it lightly. Anyway, bhasyehi yattu na bhasyate. Bhasyehi. All these are bhasyam. They are illumined actually by this consciousness, and they are able to illumine someone else, something else, other objects. So those bhasyehi yattu na bhasyate. Well, that because of, these objects are yat means this consciousness. Conscious is na bhasyate. Consciousness cannot be illumined. It's a passive voice. Consciousness cannot be illumined by bhasyehi. It's a tritiya vibhakti. Ramaihi. Consciousness cannot be illumined by these luminaries, which themselves are basically illumined by the consciousness. So consciousness is not illumined by anything, and that's how they all are evident. Like, Stroudsburg is evident to me, and then ashram is evident to me, that room is evident to me, the camera is evident to me, computer is evident to me, body is evident to me, sense organs are evident to me, and then mind is evident to me, and I am evident to me. That's how I am evident to me. When I say that me, when I say like, let's make it more clear. When we say tree is evident to me, space is evident to me, and the bird is evident to me, fire is evident to me, that this wind is evident to me, the sun is evident to me. Which me? Which me? Body? So, the sun is evident to the body, then body is evident to what? No, sir, body is evident to body. No, body is evident to me. So everything is evident to me means not body, because body itself is evident to me. Body is inert. So as the space and water and fire and tree and computer and all this same category body also has. We have seen yesterday also. Body also has the same category. And therefore body, when everything is evident to me means what? Me means the consciousness. Ultimately consciousness. Even body is evident to me, mind is evident to me, senses are evident to me. And that's how can you say body is evident to me? Well, you know very well your body. If body is evident to me, so you are conscious of the body. Either way, I can say that way also. And therefore you are conscious of the body means you know the body. And you know the body very well. It's the object of your knowledge. You can talk about it also. Anyway, so everything is evident to me means everything is evident to the consciousness. And consciousness is evident to the consciousness. And therefore consciousness is self-evident, self-illumined. Everything is illumined. Everything is illumined. Everything is evident to the consciousness, and consciousness is self-evident. So conscious, here it says, consciousness illumines everything. Consciousness is not illumined by anything, especially luminaries. Consciousness is not illumined by all these jyotis, arka, etc. They are not. Consciousness is not illumined. Then how do you know consciousness is there? Consciousness need not be illumined by anything. Consciousness is ever evident. Since you are saying I am conscious of everything, everything is evident to you, that's enough. You need not have to prove whether consciousness is there or not. And therefore, basically, there is no doubt regarding the existence of consciousness, because you only say I am conscious of. Therefore, you are consciousness. Where is the question of proof further? So, proof is required when doubt is there. You can have a doubt regarding existence of a God. Well, if you think the God is a person, then definitely you can have a doubt. Because his body also should become evident to you. And therefore, if it is not, well, definitely you say, well, God is there or not. But here in terms of consciousness, the God is ever evident to everyone. Yena sarvamidam vibhati, because of that consciousness, everything becomes evident. Tad brahma iti avadharayet. Well, may you ascertain this in your mind repeatedly. Avadharana means may you ascertain in your mind repeatedly that I am consciousness, I am consciousness, I am light of light, I light of all the lights. Well, definitely I pervade everything. So, this is the verse. Now let's go further. Swayam antar bahir vyapya bhasayan akhilam jagat Brahma prakashate manni prataptaya sapindavat. Well, this is an extension of the previous shloka only. Shankaracharya ji says, well, when you are conscious of something, you should understand that that object, like when I say I am conscious of a clip, means what? The clip is pervaded by the consciousness. That is how we should understand. Otherwise, you can't be conscious of that clip. So you can't know that thing. You are not conscious of the clip means you don't know the clip. That's what it means. So in a clip perception, etc. So why this is discussed here? Because let's talk about in an example here, not this example, some other example. Like right now the clip is there, right? So I ask, you see my words, I say clip is there. Really speaking, you know that there is, not only one thing, that is clip is here. There is something else also is there. There are two principles. Which when I say clip is there, as if I am ignoring one principle totally. And what is that principle? You know very well. That is light. So actually light pervades the clip, and that's how I am able to say the clip, I know the clip, etc. Or clip is there. So clip is there, for that light is required. But you forget that principle totally. Even though the clip pervades the light pervades the clip, you totally forget this principle called light. Same thing is happening here also. See, basically, so there are two principles. When you say clip is there, already two principles are there. That is the object clip, and the second is the light. So, and that is how in every perception, not only just clip, in every perception actually you always say the particular object. Computer is there. Then you say this mobile is there. Book is there. But you all the time forget the second principle, because of which you are able to say clip is there, book is there, etc. You totally forget it. And that is a light principle. Same way even in knowledge also, like in perception, in knowledge also there are two things. One is the consciousness, and second is the objects. And that objects maybe belong to the outer world, objects maybe belong to the inner world. Either way. So inner world means what, Swamiji? Thoughts, words, your hunger, emotions, so many things. All panchakoshas, let's say. All panchakoshas. So either a object belongs to the outer world, objects belong to the inner world, whatever are there. That is one thing. And second thing, consciousness. So there are two things. That's how I am able to get the knowledge. So, well, you say I know this clip. Definitely consciousness pervades the clip and the object clip. Both the things are there. So perception, as the perception requires illumination by the light, same way knowledge also requires illumination by the consciousness. So illumination is what? Illumination is nothing but illumination is by pervasion of the light. Object is pervaded by the light. Same way, what is knowledge? Knowledge means nothing but a object is pervaded by consciousness. Same, you just take, in example it is a light. In our case it is a consciousness. We are both, that is consciousness is equated with the light. So, well, because of light only, because the light pervades the object, and that is how you are able to say the book, the clip is. Same way even, knowledge of the clip also involves two things. Well, one is consciousness and other is clip, and consciousness pervades the entire object. That's how you are able to say that I know the clip, etc., etc. So clip knowledge can take place. And then existence also. Once you say a clip, I know the clip, means automatically clip is there also, you can say. So, this is how two things are there. That's what here it has been told. Antaha vyapya. Antaha vyapya means Vyapya means pervading. So, Antaha, inside. So, the consciousness pervades within. So, consciousness pervades everything. What everything? Let's take 5 koshas. So antah vyapya bhasayan, by pervading, means entire, all the panchakoshas are pervaded by the consciousness, and that is how we are able to know the panchakoshas. So bhasayan means consciousness makes us know all the five koshas. We are talking about five koshas. Let's take pranamaya kosha. So in pranamaya kosha, what we can take? Hunger. So I say I know that I am hungry. So why? How can I say? Well, because I am the consciousness is pervading the hunger. Just as outside also, well, we can discuss little later, but still for example purpose, when you say I know the click, means what? The consciousness is pervading click. That is how we have to understand. Same way here, when I say I know I am hungry, definitely the hunger is pervaded by consciousness. Then anger, let's say, from hunger to anger, let's go to mind, manomaya kosha. Oh, anger is pervaded by consciousness. Knowledge, whatever the knowledge you have, engineering knowledge, this knowledge, etc., knowledge is pervaded by consciousness. Say anything, all other emotions you can take, in that belongs to manomaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha, your karta, bhokta, everything is doership, etc., is all pervaded by consciousness. You say I know I am a doer. I know I am I am a experiencer, etc. Very knower is pervaded by consciousness, right? And therefore, otherwise how can knower be there? And therefore, anyway, so antah vyapya bhasayan. So since consciousness pervades everything within, that's how, and by pervading, consciousness makes me know everything which is inside. Same way, bahihi vyapya, same way. And even if you want to see the example, you can see in the example also. See, when I say lights, I know book. See, now thing is, Swamiji, but the thing that, in the inside, whatever is there, how can it not reveal itself? It cannot be. Like, let's take in the example of, as I said you, a book. Let's say a book is there, right? So this book, book cannot reveal itself. So, when I say the book, right now the book is, if I say that, means what? The book is pervaded by the light, naturally. Because since the book cannot reveal itself, it has a borrowed light, and that light has pervaded the entire book, and that's how I am able to say the book is, etc. And our book is illumined, whatever. So that is how, same way, inside also whatever is there, any kosha you take, it may be a physical body, it may be a mind, or it may be senses, it may be intellect, or it may be a prana, etc., or ignorance, whatever. All definitely they cannot reveal themselves. Like book, they are also a jada. They are inert, and therefore they should be. If you come to know them, then definitely they must be having a borrowed consciousness, and therefore we say the consciousness I pervades everything, whatever is inside, maybe mind, etc., or anything, and that is how I am able to know them very well. So same, just as I know the book because of the light pervades that thing, because it cannot reveal itself. Same way, the whatever is there inside, that also is pervaded by the borrowed consciousness, and that is how we are able to know them. There they become object of my knowledge. So Atma illuminates them. But Swamiji, what pervades? Consciousness pervades. No, you said before, we remember that Chidabhasa pervades. Okay, Chidabhasa pervades. Anyway, Chidabhasa pervades. Chidabhasa is not something an independent entity at all. And therefore, if you say consciousness pervades, it is not wrong at all. Chidabhasa is basically not a entity. Really speaking, this Chidabhasa is a mithya entity. Chidabhasa has a, we have discussed that anyway. Chidabhasa has a thing which belongs to either belongs to a consciousness or something belongs to the mind. It is not an independent entity with its own attributes, etc. It's not. So Chidabhasa, when you analyze Chidabhasa, some of the things you will have to give it to consciousness. Chidabhasa appears conscious. Okay. Well, that consciousness in the Chidabhasa is belong to actually consciousness, that is our original consciousness, and the Chidabhasa is a location and these and everything that belongs to the mind actually, and the very I sense also, the I thought, etc., also belongs to the mind. Anyway, so this is how it is. So Chidabhasa is not some kind of a real entity. We have discussed that it's a mithya entity. So anyway, just like a reflected sun, reflected sun. And if you remember, I have given you an example of our own reflection, reflection of our face, right? I have told you, in a reflected face, some of the attributes belong to the original face, person, and some of the attributes belong to the mirror, actually. Then there is no third thing which you can, there is no real attribute which you can attribute to the reflected face. So the reflected face has some dullness, let's say. That belongs to the mirror. Reflected face has a distance. Well, that belongs to the mirror, etc. And so like that we have discussed. And reflected face is a has a maleness, femaleness, etc. Well, maleness belongs because that's because due to the original person. And so this is how we have to basically, when you analyze any reflection, when you analyze, you will find that it has no attributes of its own, and therefore even without any attribute, without independently standing, it cannot stand independently. When you analyze, it doesn't remain at all. Once you give away what are the things belong to what ultimately, well, then nothing remains of its own, and therefore that entity itself doesn't remain. Anyway, so you can say, okay, Chidabhasa pervades, no problem. So instead of a consciousness, well, I want to say Chidabhasa. Okay, Chidabhasa, spirit. So anyway, but ultimately Chidabhasa itself is illumined by consciousness. So if you say consciousness illumines everything inside, everything has a borrowed light. That borrowed light is that is Chidabhasa. That's all it is. Borrowed consciousness is Chidabhasa. That's all. Nothing to worry. Mind is inert entity. No, but Swamiji, mind is conscious. Okay, Chidabhasa. Okay, Chidabhasa. Body is inert, Swamiji, but body appears conscious. Okay, Chidabhasa. That's all. So, Chidabhasa, well, is basically is nothing but a borrowed light, right? So, reflected sun has lot of light, but that is nothing but a borrowed light. From what? From original sun. This is just for understanding, because these are our models actually. And models means it has a certain usage in terms of understanding, not actually thinking that there is some kind of a reflection and dum 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 dum. Then definitely there will be problem, because ultimately consciousness is limitless. Now there is nothing, yesterday we saw, consciousness is advayam, there is nothing other than consciousness. Then where is the question of, when we are not even counting the bodies and everything, where is the question of reflection at all? Where is the question of reflection? So this is for understanding. Those models are there. Their models are called, Abhasavada and Pratibimbavada and Avachedavada, etc., etc. We will be discussing that in Panchadashi after a long time, because it is there in, I think, 7th chapter or somewhere. Anyway, so Antavyapya, pervading inside everything. What? Consciousness pervades everything, and that is how they become object of my knowledge. I become conscious of them, let's say. Or Bahihi Vyapya, now it says. Shankaracharya says Bahihi Vyapya. It pervades everything outside also. That's how entire world of forms, world of sounds, world of touch, and world of smells, everything, right? They become an object of my knowledge, because I, the consciousness, pervades them. So, Antaha Vyapya, Bahihi Vyapya. Bhasayan, and make known. Well, ultimately they are known to me, basically. And so, well, can you think of any object, which falls outside consciousness? No, nothing. You can't imagine even. Because any object falls outside consciousness, man, you can't be conscious of. But Swamiji, I am conscious of that I don't know something. Okay, that's enough. You have given me the answer. Well, any particular thing, when you say, Swamiji, there are thousands and thousands of things, Swamiji, well, which I don't know. And therefore, they are not illumined by the consciousness. But you are conscious of that they are not known to you. So you have illumined them. So that is how it is. Consciousness illumines everything. Understand known and unknown. When you say they are unknown, means they are illumined by consciousness. And something is known in particular as in terms of form or in terms of other details, whatever. So ultimately, known and unknown, everything is basically illumined. That's how we have a category called unknown. Means unknown category is illumined. Then, can you talk about its existence? No. Moment you talk about existence, you must be conscious of it, and therefore known and unknown, everything, whatever. You say there are thousands of things are there. You say that, right? Thousands of things are there which I don't know. So their existence, the unknown category's existence also is known to you. And therefore you are conscious of them, and therefore consciousness has pervaded them. So this is the way you have to understand. Well, thousands of things are, I have given you example when we were discussing Aham Brahmasmi, etc. When I will give you a point where I discuss this point. When we were discussing consciousness is limitless, at that moment, in that particular discussion in that class, I have discussed that many things are outside your mind, but not outside consciousness. Many things, are outside your mind, but not outside consciousness. Like many people are there in the ashram right now, right? And many people are there outside the ashram, but all are within space. That is how it is. So a thing becomes particularly known when it enters into your mind, right? In terms of form or anything. And then it becomes known. And we'll be discussing this also, will be a chapter in Panchadashi, that a certain job is given to Chidabhasa and certain job is given to Chaitanyam. And so both the things are there. Anyway, what I am saying is a particular object which is unknown to you. Now it came through sense organ. The Chidabhasa has illumined it, right? And so it has entered in your mind, etc. And then Chidabhasa is illumined. And now it becomes known to you forever. So the things becoming known to you also remains in the consciousness because it has gone out of the mind. Then some other object will appear and then again Chidabhasa illumines and that becomes known. That will remain in that consciousness all the time. And unknown things also remain in consciousness as unknown. Known and unknown both remain in consciousness. But some of the things from unknown to known, that unknown to known is converted. The conversion of unknown to known is done by Chidabhasa. Could you follow what I am saying? Things were unknown. How can you say thing is unknown? Oh, Swamiji, I know they are, I don't know them. Okay. So you are conscious of them as unknown. Yeah. So consciousness has already pervaded them as unknown. No problem. Now you have come in contact. And so you are through senses, etc. Let's say that way. So then, through senses, they have entered into your mind. And then Chidabhasa has illumined them. Now that unknown object this object which was unknown has become what? Known. Okay. But it has gone now. It has gone. But it will remain in your mind as all the time known. So, as a known object also you are conscious of. Earlier, this object was, you were conscious of this object as unknown. Now you are conscious of this object as a known. And in mind all the time, all the objects are not there. You know thousands of things in 60, 70 years. Not all are there right now in the mind. Many things are, at a given point in mind, at a given point, a particular object is there. That goes away, becomes known and then goes away. But it remains known. It remains known. Like if I ask you 3 plus 3 is how much? You will say 6. Swamiji, what are you asking? We know this. How you should not ask this thing. But you should not have to remind yourself. But as a known, it is known. Please understand this very well. So basically, known and unknown, all the objects are within consciousness. The conversion takes place by Chidabhasa. We'll discuss this when Panchadashit comes. But only my point is, don't think, oh Swamiji, unknown means you are telling things become known and all that. So as an unknown also you are conscious of, and therefore they are pervaded by consciousness. Well, Shankaracharya says, Akhilam Jagat, Akhilam Jagat, entire world, well basically whole creation falls within consciousness. How do we know consciousness is there? So this question keep coming and coming, and then, well, again come back to, you come back again to the light. Well, it illumines the clip, and then the light shine not because of clip. Clip shines right now. Clip shines because of what? Light. But the light doesn't shine on because of the clip, and therefore light shine because it's self-shining. And therefore, when you look at the clip, you understand the light is there. That's enough. That's enough. You have not to see to the tube light. Then it requires another tube light. Like seeing, if you can see that, and still you want to check whether light is there or not, then definitely I need another tube light. Don't worry, it is self-shining. Well, when you say I am conscious of this, I am conscious of, or this is evident to me, this is evident to me, space is evident to me, this is evident to me. Over, sir, you are conscious entity, you are consciousness. That is proven. So Shankaracharya says, Brahma prakashate, Brahma shines self-effulgently. Vanni pratapta ayasa pindavat, the example is given here. Vanni pratapta ayasa pindavat. So, well, imagine an iron ball which is put over a fire, and then fire principle pervades the whole iron ball. Not red hot, just hot. So, the fire principle pervades iron ball. So, when you take it out, well, what you see is iron ball. But if you touch, well, you get burns in your hand. And then you say, well, iron ball has burnt me. But that's not correct. What has burnt? Iron is, understand this, iron is invisibly pervaded by the fire principle which has burnt your hand. Right? Iron is invisibly pervaded by, because otherwise why should you touch it? You are not knowing that it is hot. And so iron is invisibly pervaded by the fire principle which has burnt your hand. So same way, the fire pervades the iron ball and burns the hand. Similarly, consciousness invisibly pervades internal world or outer world. That is how, when you say, well, I know the object, means consciousness already pervaded. How? Visibly or invisibly? Invisibly. It is pervaded by invisible principle, and that is how you are evident of everything. You are evident, it is the, you know everything. As a known or unknown, that's a different matter. But you know the things. So there you are conscious of the things as a known or unknown. And therefore everything is pervaded by the consciousness. And how it is pervaded? Invisibly pervaded. What is the example? The fire and iron ball. As the fire is pervaded, fire pervades that iron ball invisibly. Same way I pervade the entire creation, outer or inner, whatever, and as an invisible principle. And that is how we don't count. We count the objects. We never count that because of, when you talk about an object, means an object is known to you, you never take into account the consciousness principle because of which you are knowing that object. You don't take into account, but actually that is there. Just as when you are seeing this, two principles are there, but you are not taking into account the light principle which is formless, and you just take into account the clip, and that is how you think that. Okay, let's go to verse number 63. Jagad vilakshanam brahma brahmanonyanya kinchana brahmanyad bhati chen mithya yatha marumarichika. Now in the previous verses, Shankaracharya ji talks about illumining principles, and there are things which are illumined, like that is a difference, right? So in all these shlokas we talk like that. So Shankaracharya ji, as though, and we also have indirectly accepted the duality. Illumined world, objects, and illuminator consciousness. That's how we have discussed till this point. And that is how Vedanta starts. This is very beautiful. We have to start like this. Atma, Anatma. I mean, actually, one limitless Brahman has, we separate them. One limitless Brahman we separate like this. Atma and Anatma. Druk and Drishya, etc. Chetan, Achetan, etc. etc. So one undivided whole is as though divided into two. Deha, Dehi, Drishyam, Druk, etc. And we discuss also, very, very wisely we discuss what the world has, well, I don't have. So Atma is basically distinct from the Anatma, the world, etc. From the body, from the mind, from the senses. How? 5-point program. And that 5-point program we have already done several times. Now I think you should tell me. That's a taste for you now, for an Atma Bodha. And so, how will you distinguish Atma and Anatma? Well, sir, very easy. I'm talking about the world. Let's first begin with the world. Body also, it's a part of the world. But let's start with this. World is a object of knowledge. World is made up of elements. World has attributes, different attributes, depending upon the form. Yeah, yesterday I forgot that. So somebody asked me later that there are differences in attributes. That attributes belong to whom? Form. A particular form, particular attributes. So a different type of attributes, specific attributes, and certain attributes will have, it is all the time, it is connected to a form. So this has a particular attributes, and this has a particular attributes, right? And body has a different type of attributes. So that is depending upon the form. Anyway, so this world is a object of knowledge, world is made up of elements, etc. World is definitely has attributes. World is constantly undergoing change, and world is definitely born and gone, and etc. temporary. And I, the consciousness, is distinct from them. But so world is object of knowledge. Therefore, I am a knower. I am conscious entity. That I am not an object of knowledge. I am subject of knowledge. Then world is made up of 5 elements. I am not made up. Consciousness is not made up of 5 elements. Then world has so many attributes depending upon the form. Well, I am free from all the attributes. That's how we have to find a difference. When Atma and Anatma are distinct entity, Chetana, Achetana are distinct entity, and therefore what world has, I should not have, because I'm distinct from that. And therefore whatever you talk about the world, well, I should negate. When we talk about Atma, you have to negate those things, naturally. And therefore, world is definitely has attributes. I don't have any attributes. I'm free from all attributes. This all makes sense. Huh? I don't want to go into the discussion, but that makes sense. That makes sense. Anything which has attributes can never be limitless. Never be limitless. Try to find out one example for me and bring it tomorrow. Free from all attributes, please understand. Don't bring space. Don't bring space. Space has attribute, and that attribute is called sound. Bring an object which is free from attributes and yet limitless. Impossible. Impossible. And therefore, well, I, the limitless Brahman, must be free from all attributes. This makes a sense, but we'll distinguish like this. And then Brahman, and this world is, so I am free from attributes. That's the third point. And then I am definitely not subject to change. Well, the world is subject to change. Then I am not subject to change. Okay. Then, well, world is born and gone. I am not born and gone. I am all the time there. Yesterday, if you remember Panchadashi, right? All the time there. That's how I am existence. Anyway, so this is the way we separate. And we have to do, this is the beginning of Vedanta. Atma, Anatma, Chetana, Chetana, Deha, Dehi, Druk, Drishya, etc. Whatever you talk about world, whatever you find in the world, well, I don't have. Immediately you have to say, without any hesitation. You should immediately say, World you will find made up of elements. Well, I am not made up of elements. That is how. And this is constantly changing. Well, I am not subject to change. Nirvikara, etc. It has certain attributes. Well, I am free from attributes. Without much understanding also about Atma. You have understanding, I am talking about in general. So, this is how a clean distinction you imagine, where ultimately you will have to merge everything. But we are making a watertight compartment here. Clean. Distinction is Atma is like this and Anatma is like this. This is Drak and this is Drishyam. This is Chetan, this is Achetan. This is Dehi, this is Deha. And so we took a lot of pain to make a division. And after division, if we continue inquiry, then later struggle is to negate the entire Anatma Prapancha. Abba. You made a division, Atma and Anatma, as if both are independent entity. What this has, this doesn't have. Clean distinction, opposite to each other. And then now you have another responsibility. Once you have separated, you have a responsibility of, swallowing entire Anatma Prapancha, because you want to prove Atma as a limitless. Now, if this is standing there as a real entity, how will you prove Atma is limitless? And therefore, you will have to swallow entire Anatma Prapancha. So, you have to negate it, or you have to show them as a mithya. That's a big headache. And therefore, the two steps are there. First stage, Atmanatma Viveka or Atmanatma separation. And second step is again to negate that entire Anatma Prapancha and to say, okay, Atma is the only reality. There is no other reality. Everything what you see, you experience is all mithya. It is really not there, etc., etc. So, Shankaracharya ji tries to establish Advaitam through two stages. Now, this is the end of the book. So, we are not going to discuss. We have discussed several times all this Satyamithya thing. And in fact, yesterday itself we discussed Asti Bhati Priyam Chaiva, etc., etc. Anyway, so several times we discussed how it is limitless, etc. So, now he is also, in a process, because since he has separated everything, illuminator and illumined, etc., etc. So now he is also he is establishing Advaitam in two steps. The first thing is that Jagat Vilakshanam Brahma. Consciousness is distinct from the world. And as I told you, that 5 points. And so this is the point. Well, the science cannot establish Brahman. That is because basically the main thing is this Brahman or Atma, the consciousness is not made up of elements. That's where science fails. Science can analyze something which is made up of elements, subtle elements or whatever. So science can analyze with their very sophisticated instruments, etc. They can analyze something which is made up of matter, which made up of elements. They call it matter. So ultimately they can analyze it as subtle matter, gross matter, anything they can analyze. All our scopes and scans and grams and everything. We have so many scopes, types of scopes and scans and everything. And so, what is that? ECG and EEG and G, etc. So anyway, so basically Atma is not, in that purview for analysis. Then let's talk about our scientist called, we have also scientists, we have scientists called Sankhyas, very beautiful. The Sankhyas also, they came up to the teaching of this first step of Vedanta. Please understand, they are the, not threat as such, but very, very close contenders for the Vedantin. Many people have a illusion that Sankhya philosophy and Vedanta philosophy is the one thing alone. And to the extent that for so far as creation, etc. is concerned, we have adopt also the philosophy of a Sankhya. So far creation is concerned, please understand, in the Mithya category. So they discuss from Prakriti, everything comes, etc. We say, yeah, that's correct. So we adopt also, and even in Bhagavan has adopted, it seems. In the 8th chapter or 9th chapter, he talks about the creation, and he talks about that Ashtada Prakriti. Well, so Ashtada Prakriti means this all belongs to Sankhya. Anyway, so Sankhyas are very close to Vedanta, and they have done a separation of Atma and Atma, which that is our first step. They also have done. And they don't use Atma and Atma. They say Prakriti and Purusha. And Prakriti, they don't have even name Prakriti. They have a name called Pradhanam. Pradhanam, which is the prime thing, very prime material from which the entire creation is, or the main material, let's say, original material from which everything, whole creation is come. So they call it Pradhanam. Anyway, so Prakriti and Purusha are independent entities, so they have separated, like we separate Atma and Atma. But next step, that what has been generated from Prakriti and the Prakriti itself is mithya. No, that they could not do. So they have come very close to us, but the second step they are missing. Then compared to that, Nyaya Vaisheshikas are far away. Nyaya Vaisheshikas even fail to separate this thing, Atma and Atma thing. In fact, they consider everything as a part of the world. In Atma also. Atma, they divide Atma into Jivatma and Paramatma. But that is all part of the world. So they don't say that Atma etc. is a independent entity and accept all other things, matter etc. or Anatma is a other entity. No. Whatever is this world, divide world into 7 categories. And that each category also further divide. And that is also a further divide. But, and in that division, in that chart you will find at one place Atma is there. So that is a part of the world. So they start with this 7 categories of the world, and one category is Atma. Please understand, one category is Atma. And then Atma divides into Jivatma and Paramatma, etc. So Nyaya Vaisheshikas, they even could not reach to our first step, division of Atma and Anatma. But the Sankhyas have reached. Anyway, so for them, for Sankhyas, that is the reality, Prakriti and Purusha. What we say is a second step. Brahmanaha anyat kinchana nasti, Shankaracharya says, there is no real matter separate from Brahman. And that is what our Upanishad says also. And na bhumi rapo, na cha vanni rasti, etc. in Kaivalya Upanishad, or nehana nasti kinchana in Katha Upanishad. Nehana, nana means maniness. Na iha means asmin loke. In this world, in this universe, there are no many things. There is no dvaitam actually. There is no duality. Everything is one alone. Means where the Anatma has gone then? So that's, they say Anatma is mithya actually. And Shankaracharya ji has, he is one of beautiful work is a Dashashloki. They call it as a Nirvana Dashakam. That's why 10 verses he has written, very essence of the entire Vedanta. In the very first verse itself, it is, na bhumihi, na toyam, na tejo, na vayuhu, na kham nendriyam va, na tesham samoha, etc., etc. And there he negates all these elements and everything. Tesham samoha, not even in the group, etc. So my point is, entire Anatma Prapancha is negated. So, and person will have definitely a doubt that, world we experience so much and as a solid entity, and you say it is not there. And Brahman I don't experience, you say Brahman is there. That alone is there. And so what I oversee, you say, I mean all the time I see, in fact, it is not there, you say. And what I never see, you say that alone is there. What is this? So we say, Brahma anyat bhati chet. Shankaracharya says, Brahma anyat bhati chet. If you experience anything other than Brahma anyat. So if you experience anything other than Brahman, it is unreal. And so it doesn't, it is unreal experience. It does not prove reality, because experience is not a proof for reality. How do you say? So example, Yatha maru marichika, like mirage water, you experience, but it is not there. Same way, this is also not there. This is how it has been told. Now verse number 64. Drishyate shruyate yadyat brahmanonyana tad bhavet tatvajnanacha tad brahma satchidanandamadvayam. So, well, according to Vedanta, there is a one entity in the creation, and that's the only entity, I mean. So, but there are people, well, there are two types of people, and they say the same thing in two different ways. That's how we divide into two groups. Like, there are people who are wise. They see this creation as a one thing. And there are unwise people, ignorant people, they see this creation differently. So we divide the groups, people into two groups. Like, the person, there are people who says that this is a rope. And there are people who say, this is a snake. So there are two categories. So, and not only that, they will say, well, ultimately they say that this snake is born of, rope, and snake is sustained by the rope, and snake resolves into rope, etc. Ultimately, a cause-effect relationship and everything. But ultimately, what we say is, it is just a rope. There is nothing other than that. Same way, this creation also, by unwise people, it has been called as a Jagat. And then they say the Jagat is like a snake, and it is created from the Ishvara, sustained by Ishvara and resolved into Ishvara, etc. So, and there are people, wise people, who say there is Brahman alone. Everything is Brahman. There is nothing called Jagat. So, yadyat drishyate shruyate, whatever is seen, whatever is heard, tad brahmanaha anyat na bhavati, is not different from Brahman. So, Brahman alone only mistaken as a Jagat. Whereas Tattva Jnanat, after knowledge of the truth of everything in this creation, Tadeva Brahma Bhavati, well, this mistaken world is understood as a Brahman. After what? Tattva Jnanat. After knowing that as the truth of the entire creation, well, there is no cause-effect relation, that world is really there, and then therefore there must be a creator and the material and everything, etc. Well, it is not. Everything is one alone, and that is Brahman. And what you see, what you experience, what you hear, what you touch, all that is mithya. In reality, everything substantially is Astibhati Priyam. We have seen that. Astibhati Priyam Rupam Nama Chetyamsha Panchakam Adyatrayam Brahma Rupam Tato Jagat Rupam Tato Dvayam. So everything, the existence of everything is Brahman. And the evidence is also because the consciousness pervades it. And please remember my words for pervasion. Just as the water pervades the wave, consciousness pervades this. That's all. So we will not have an idea of a blanket pervading a body, and therefore consciousness is pervading something like that. Don't think, never. Every subatomic particle is evident, and therefore that is pervaded by consciousness. And therefore consciousness pervades everything. Well, and that consciousness is existence. And therefore existence also pervades everything, entire clip. Don't think existence pervades from outside. Then what about inside? Inside also exists, right? Whatever is there. Therefore inside, outside, everything is pervaded by existence, pervaded by consciousness, and pervaded by Ananda also. So Adyatrayam Brahma Rupam Astibhati Priyam Rupam, that is Adyatrayam. And Nama Chetyamsha Panchakam, Rupam and Nam, etc. Well, definitely. Astibhati Priyam, that is Brahman, and Nama Rupa, etc. Well, that is Jagat, or that is Maya, etc. That is Mithya. And that Nama Rupa has no existence. Well, independent existence. Independent existence means that you cannot negate. But, well, whatever you see, etc., the existence of the objects of sight, existence of objects of sounds, existence of objects of touch, etc., everything, entire Anatma Prapancha, the existence of it, evidence of it, ultimately due to consciousness. That's the reality. That is the truth of it. That is the essence of anything in the creation. And therefore, well, then therefore there is everything is ultimately Brahman. That is the reality. Other than that is just appearance. Just appearance. Appearance is there due to Maya. Yeah. Appearance of a form is due to Maya. The appearance of attributes also is due to Maya. Samajji, you said form has certain attributes. Yeah. That is also due to Maya. ultimately. But then the attribute exists, that existence is due to consciousness. So existence of anything is consciousness. Then you will find that if you withdraw that existence, turns zero. Where is creation? Without existence, nothing. Therefore, it is just appearance. So this is how he ultimately merged everything into Brahman. Earlier, first step is Atmanatma Viveka. Second step is Anatma is Mithya. There is nothing called Anatma. No reality to the Anatma. And everything is Atma. Everything is Atma means it is limitless Brahman. So this is how we have completed verse 64. And now, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.